Hello, market traders, and welcome out to your daily currency recap. This is Ankit here, and I'll be breaking down today's market price action. This is Tuesday, September the 3rd. Hope everyone had a good long weekend, and now here we are back after Labor Day, and markets are definitely kicking up here. So let's just go over, as always, we'll be taking a look at broader market analysis. Then we'll take a look at currency baskets and take a look at any major news events, and then we'll take a look at some possible setups ahead. Let's get into it.
Disclaimer. This video was created for professional stock and option traders. Maverick Trading is a proprietary trading firm that employs professional traders around the world. Our traders trade firm capital and keep 70 to 80% of profits they generate. All trades and analysis in this video are for professional traders only. If you are interested in becoming a professional trader for Maverick, click the apply button in the video description. Let's break down what happened today.
As we jump into the market analysis, let's just jump right into the headlines and the numbers. And here we are with the headlines. The markets are pulling back across the board. So we're starting off with a lot more of a risk-off sentiment. And that's exactly what happened in the markets today. We were at this resistance level that we discussed that we're either going to break out or we reject that level. And so far, we're starting off on a negative note. Now, if you take a look at the numbers, and if you just look at the numbers here, well, this was a pretty traditional risk-off day. You can see that the yen, dollar, and Swiss franc is where the money went. Aussie and Kiwi is where the money came out of. The euro, pound, and even CAD didn't do much. So this is why it's important to take a look at relative strength and weakness and see exactly what's moving. And today, that's exactly where we had that biggest movement, especially if you look at currency pairs like Aussie yen and Kiwi yen, some massive movements there. Now, if we take a look at outside of the currency market, well, you can see that the S&P was down 2%. So it's a big down day. BT's down, crypto's down, gold slightly down, and oil is down huge, 5%. So as the volatility returns to the markets, and you can see that it kind of shows in the percentage change today. Now, if you take a look at the crypto markets, well, crypto, Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash being the worst, Ethereum slightly up, but again, not really interested in crypto here. Overall, they still remain the underperformer. So if you take a look at where we are in the markets today, and with this little drop today, here's a chart. So we were right up against that resistance, and this is where we talk about how we need that breakout confirmation in order for this to continue higher. So we're right around that 20-day moving average, and you can see that we just broke lower today. So we are in between the 20 and the 50. So this is where if we just take a look at our score, we are now at 0 in the market. So we are not sloping higher or lower, and we are above the 50 but below the 20. This is where I think markets can really go either way. And a lot of that we'll find out when we get some data. As you can see, starting today we had some data, but again, starting Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, again, there's a lot on the schedule that we got to continue focusing on. So we had the ISM number today. You can see that was not a big change, and that was not a big number to focus on. So I think tonight we have the Aussie GDP, which we'll focus on here, and then we'll take a look at Bank of Canada rate statement tomorrow, which again, they're expecting to cut rates. And this is where we talk about what's expected already, what's priced in already. And it seems like this rate cut is already kind of priced in. The CAD is not really moving lower ahead of that news. So if the news comes out as expected, we might see a little dip in the CAD, but I just don't love the CAD as a short here. We discussed that, how things are kind of turning around on that daily chart. We have the US job opening as well tomorrow, and we have some later on Thursday and Friday, we have a lot of other economic data. So this is where volatility is back, which is great. We're getting that shift. We're getting that shuffle. We just need to make sure we're staying with the right side of the markets. So let's just jump into the currency analysis and let's take a look at velocity scores, and then we'll jump into some possible setups. Now, if you take a look at the velocity score, you can see that this is where the trend and the velocity might not match up. But that's exactly where we are. We're getting this some sort of a reversal here. The Kiwi was the best, Aussie was the best, and that's turning out to be the worst. Now we had the euro, which was the worst. It's actually stabilized here. So getting that rotation that's taking place across the board. And look at the yen, dollar, and Swiss franc. I don't recall the last few times, when we had such a good correlation We have the yen being the outperformer, and here we are, Swiss franc and the yen and the dollar as well. They're all acting as a safe haven currency. So if this risk-off sentiment continues into tomorrow or even later this week, we got to continue looking at this outlook, which is long the safe haven, short the growth currency. And between the euro and the pound, I am not really interested in these two. And then we have CAD, which again, I will be looking at for tomorrow's rate statement. So let's just jump in and take a look at some possible trades ahead.
Do you want to be a professional trader? Maverick Currencies is the oldest US-based Forex and crypto prop trading company that will pay you for trading with our capital. Trade our capital and keep 70 to 80% of the profits. We are looking for traders just like you that are hardworking and motivated. Click the apply link on the top right of this video to see if you have what it takes. That link takes you to a 4-minute video that explains the trader position available, and you read a list of FAQs that answer pretty much all the basic questions you have at this point. After watching the video and reading the FAQs, if you're interested, fill out an application, then you'll watch the full-length recruiting video, and then schedule an interview with one of our traders. Are you our next trader?
Now, as we jump in, let's just take a look at some currency baskets here. So, we're talking about recovery here. You can see that the dollar, which had made a big move down, is recovering. It's a slow recovery. It's not a fast recovery. On the other hand, yen had a breakdown after it's consolidating for the longest time. As you can see that at this point, it is back within that range. So don't really love the long or the short here. Here we are, daily chart. You can see that this is where the resistance is. If this can break above that parabolic SAR and get higher, I'm absolutely want to get behind that. But here we are. We got a breakdown over here, and we got a bit of a reversal here. So it seems like we're kind of back into that range. So want to see how or where it breaks out. But for now, if we look at the momentum for our chart, looks pretty strong. So we don't want to be shorting the yen here. Now the dollar momentum is still strong. And so look at Swiss franc, even though it's not as a clear or great pattern, it's still outperforming here. So we have a bit of a change in the Aussie, and I'm going to take a look at the daily chart, and you'll see how this thing is also range bound, and we got a big move down, broke below the support. So we have the Aussie GDP tonight, but I think that's something we're going to continue hunting for. I have talked about over in the currency room how I really like the Aussie Kiwi. You can see that we got a jump. Yes, we got to head a little bit jump here, and then here we are back. So we're definitely getting that correlation, that relative weakness in the Aussie compared to the Kiwi. Now, if we take a look at the Kiwi, you can see that Kiwi had a bit of a pullback. We are right at that moving average, the exponential moving average. But you can see that the momentum is turning lower. So this is where you really have to adjust, even though the Kiwi was doing the best. Shorter term, it's not. Even though Aussie was doing the best, even yesterday, it looks like it wanted to break out. Now that looking at the worst. So, whenever these shifts happen, this is where you either just shift onto the velocity chart, or you just wait for that next opportunity after this volatility settled down. Here we are, CAD. You can see that CAD is going sideways. CAD is not really moving higher or lower, and I think this is why I actually don't mind if the CAD dips on the news. I won't be surprised if it really recovers, and I think that's really where there'll be good trade as well. So you can see that it's above the parabolic SAR here. We got a support here. Don't really love the CAD short. I think I'll look for some sort of reversal to the upside here. So in that retrospect, let's take a look at some of the possible setups here. Now, Aussie CAD, you can see that this thing, it has that resistance right here, and it's slowly moving lower. It gave up that 13 exponential moving average. Again, I'm talking about one of those pairs that might do decent if the Aussie stay weak and CAD does strengthen. So there's a bit of a room for fall. Now, that's a daily chart, but if I want to set it on an hourly chart or 4-hour chart, you can see that we had a clear break at 91.20. So this is where using the moving average as a stop and see if it continues moving down. I don't mind that trade here. Now, if you take a look at other trade, Aussie dollar, this one also, you can see that this is right at the support. So if it breaks that support at 67, you can see that this has a lot more room to fall. So I would really like to see some sort of bear rally to short into in all these setups. But again, remember, we don't always get what we want to see in the market. Sometimes we just get that one-way price action. So you can see that this thing is ready to break lower below that 67 area. So that's where we were at. Now the Kiwi dollar, they're kind of looking the same. You can see that below that moving average. RSI is heading lower. But again, I definitely would like the Aussie more than the Kiwi here. Now, these are the only setups here that, I can pay attention to. Dollar yen is another one, which again had a nice breakout towards that 147. You can see that this thing has sharply pulled back as well. And here we are, RSI moving lower as well. So this is where I think you're getting the opposite, some of the opposite scores here. So the best thing to do here is to mix these price action along with some of the news events up on the horizon. So Aussie GDP, I think this will be ready to break lower. Here's the Aussie currency basket. You can see that this thing wants to go lower. So here's the resistance. We're breaking lower here. And this is where you get to decide, okay, I can maybe diversify my risk and take a look at other pairs. Like, we can take a look at pound Aussie. You can see that this is right up against our resistance. Going on a 4-hour chart, you can see that right up against our resistance. So there's decent areas that we can sort of focus on. We have Aussie yen. You can see this thing is just right back at the day. So I don't really love the Aussie yen here. But Aussie dollar definitely looks good. Aussie CAD still looks good. And then we can take a look at Aussie against the Swiss franc. This again, they all kind of look very similar here. So it's just a matter of, picking the right currency against the right currency. So Aussie, Kiwi, more on the downside. Watch out for the dollar yen with this little, quick breakdown. So the yen is where we're seeing a lot more volatility. So I want to be very cautious for that, because sometimes we go a different way overnight in the Asian markets, and the overnight totally turns around. It just carries the most risk, so make sure you're trading it responsibly. So that's the game plan here. Again, Aussie GDP tonight and the Bank of Canada receiving tomorrow, along with looking at the market sentiment, seeing at the broader markets, and see if we do dip again tonight or do we recover. Risk off sentiment again for now, so we're going to stick with that. Play relative to our weakness, and then again, watch out for have good position sizing, and watch out for those key events. Thanks for joining here. We'll see you in the next update.